Pigskin presented by MTD Products and Shelby. And what a week 9 we just saw on this wet and wild Friday night. We saw some comeback victories that were big time. We saw some teams that were outside the playoff picture play themselves back in. Teams that started the day with no losses now no longer have that goose egg in that L column. So a lot of stuff went down right here on the OH Report. We got a ton to get to, so I guess we just better dive right in. My name's Brian, back up popping with the crew. Everyone's back in here. We've got Travis turning into Joe Lenardi. I'm just told over here he's getting all the playoff stuff broke down for you. G and Storm over here enjoying some pizza pies, so we'll let them get to that. And of course, Andy's here. We got Josh here, Hayden in the back, Adam directing, and Joy. So the only person I haven't mentioned yet is our resident coach over here. 8 thoughts, Erik. Actually, week 9, man, just got away from me for a second. Tell me 9 things you know to be true about this football season.
The first thing is we got to get off the table is happy anniversary to you and Jory.
Oh, that's right.
We got to get that on the table. People need to know that we're celebrating an anniversary here tonight on the OH Report.
Appreciate it, Will.
The first thing is the game of the week hasn't even been played yet.
That's
Tomorrow
right.
night,
That's right.
Right here, live and free, Crestview, St. Paul.
Whew.
I am calling the Crestview win to calm down G and Storm. They're so antsy. As a matter of fact, I really believe this. I think Crestview's gonna completely take care of business.
They're over
tomorrow
there eating
night.
their feelings right now. I can tell.
I know
they're nervous.
they are.
They're hours away from kick.
G's literally just drowning. He's just drowning himself in pizza right now. West Holmes took care of business tonight. A little bit of slow out of the gate.
Yeah.
They clinched nothing worse than a share, but they're going to take care of business next week. I believe they play Mount Vernon. That shouldn't be too big of an issue for them. I think they're going to go 10-0. Mansfield is coming on strong. I think that they might be one of the hottest teams that we're seeing.
Sure.
And the way that Joe Lenardi here has broke things down, if they both win out, that could potentially be a matchup where they could see each other in the regional final, I believe, if they were to stay hot and continue to go. Mansfield's playing really well right now. Their defense gave up, I believe, 34 yards tonight to Mount Vernon, so they're just playing stupid defensive football right now. The K-Max is muddy as it's ever been, but yet we can make it a little bit clear. We know East Knox, they win. They're going to be co-champs, and then the winner of Northmor Highland next week, they'll get a piece of that pie as well. So big for Highland, though. Last opportunity in the KMAC before they make the transition to the MOAC. And then Shelby and Clear Fork. Shelby, congratulations. You got yourself a piece of that conference championship tonight by taking care of business against River Valley. Clear Fork kind of stumbled down the stretch there in their game against Marion Harding tonight. But Clear Fork, you can get yourself together, come up with Skiles, put a good show on, try to get yourself a piece of that league title next week. And then we got Carey Baby, not to be confused with Sherry Baby. They took care of business tonight. The N10 is in their ballpark. And then Lucas, Andrew Finella coming back tonight, playing just a crazy great game on both sides of the ball tonight. They missed him the last couple weeks. Yeah. Having him back is really important. They're setting themselves up for a couple of home playoff games. Man, they're so darn good. Lucas is Lucas. They're really good. They play American football really well down there.
Yeah, I agree. And Andrew Finella, he was my midseason MVP, so having him back, that's big time. All right, guys, we have a ton to get to tonight. Let's go ahead and dive right into the scorebook, and we'll begin with the Firelands Conference tonight, like we always do. And we're going to be on a timer tonight, Erik. We have so many highlights to get to. We are going to be restricted to 2 minutes. We already know that the biggest game of the weekend hasn't even been played yet, but you see South Central winning a big game right there, 15-14 for them. If we can go back to the Firelands Conference and check out those scores. So I think that would be the big one that you would point to as a major upset.
Absolutely, 15-14. Who saw that coming? Western Reserve, I believe, coming in with only, one league loss at that point in time. So that's a big win for South Central, bouncing back from a loss last week. One thing that's been consistent has been their offense. For them to win a 15-14 game has been pretty darn impressive. I don't have the scores here in front of me, but even looking at tomorrow night, that's going to be a game you're going to want to tune in for. I think that's going to even take precedent over a lot of college football. If you can't get to the stadium, get yourself right here live and free on the OH Report, because that's must-see TV tomorrow night.
All right, well, since we're stuck on the KMAC here, let's go ahead and talk about the chaos that's going on, Erik. To start the day, this was pretty much, it was Highlands and it was Northmor's to win. And guess what they didn't do? They didn't win tonight. So now we got a 3-way tie atop of this puppy, and next week is going to be wild
Right, and Centerburg's been good all year. We said coming in that these were the two games that were going to decide the league title coming into today. And congratulations to Centerburg on a hard-fought win. Got out to that early lead. Northmor fought back, couldn't quite get over the top. And then East Knox is always, we kind of thought coming in East Knox might be the favorite to win the league anyways. So if they take care of business next week, which I feel pretty good that they should be able to take care of business. I like East Knox next week. That Northmor Highland game, that's going to be must-see TV. I feel like both those teams, we're going to see how they rebound coming in. This is going to be a all hands on deck. Get yourself in the film. One of those who wants it more type situations. And Danville continuing to be Danville. They always keep themselves relevant. And Fredericktown back in the playoff race here, man. So that's a big win for them to get Cardington. They're very much in playoff contention down there in the Freddie country.
Yeah, I'm told 5 teams that were behind the Freddies in the standings, according to our resident Joe Lenardi, all lost tonight. All right, we still got love for your Firelands Conference. Let's go back and revisit some of the scores there. Plymouth on a bye. They couldn't find a team to play this week, unfortunately. I know that they wanted to. I saw their Twitter posts. The big one, of course, is tomorrow. We talked a little bit already about South Central and what they were able to do. Western Reserve, just a couple of losses so far in the league to the top 2 teams in the league.
Right.
And then how about Mapleton? I think they kind of low-key flying under the radar.
Right.
If they play well, they're a pretty dangerous team.
They are pretty dangerous, and it's interesting because they're unfortunately for them, fortunately for them, however you want to look at it, they're playing the last 3 weeks. They've played really, really good football. I think you've hit the nail on the head, Brian. I think that they're a threat to anybody because of the fact that they do have the ability to put points up. They got a really solid quarterback. They do a lot of nice things. Monroeville had played well in the middle of the season, and they've been struggling kind of the last 2-3 weeks. Nice win for Mapleton, though. Just tomorrow night, I'm just really excited about that. And you feel bad for Plymouth. Those kids, like you said, nobody wants to sit and watch. It was funny because I believe, who was it? It might have been Zane was talking out before the game started for Lucas even, talking about how he hated eating the bye last week. When you're playing well, you want to keep rolling. And for Plymouth, they're another one of those teams that's looking for a playoff spot. They're trying to, by any means necessary, get an opponent on there, try to accumulate points and get keep that momentum. A win next week, they're knocking on the door. So there's going to be 4 or 5, at least 3 or 4, I should say, Firelands conference teams that are going to be vying for playoff spots. That's a big hit for Western Reserve in the playoff spot too. And South Central's knocking on the door. Joe Lenardi over here, Travis, he was telling me South Central is still a major player in potential playoff spot.
So just real quickly, since we still got 18 seconds, give it to me, baby. How are the Cougars going to get it done by a couple of touchdowns?
I think Crestview's defense has been absolutely lights out. That's why I'm not saying Crestview's going to score 45 points, but I just don't think they're going to give much up. They have been absolutely dominating and suffocating the entire year.
All right, let's flip the script and jump into the MOAC now, where just 2 teams I think really had a shot at this thing entering the day. We got Shelby, we got Clear Fork, who's going to play next week. But how about the comeback win? Let's start there. Marion Harding at the Colt Corral.
Right.
Coming back for a huge victory.
Yeah, that's an incredible win. We were following that game as close as you possibly could with us calling the Lucas game tonight. And that's a heck of a win by Harding. We've stated on here several weeks in a row that Harding's probably the most Jekyll Hyde type team because when they're on, they can probably beat and hang with just about anybody. We know they got athletes running all over the field. When they've struggled executing on the offensive end and maybe some gap responsibility and blown coverages in the secondary. It's kind of been big hits for them. But when they're on, they can play with anybody. And that it's kind of funny because that game didn't surprise me either way, but Harding coming out with the win the way they were able to get it within 30 seconds there in the fourth quarter, that's a heck of a win on Clear Fork senior night.
Right.
You're hoping Clear Fork wasn't looking ahead either. Nice bounce back win for Shelby tonight. Obviously going down there playing in a monsoon. Sounds like Marshall Shepard was dialed in, getting himself back to where he is. I think coming in, we all knew Shelby was the cream of the crop in the MOAC, and I think that's playing out. I like Shelby next week in that game. If Marshall plays the way he did tonight, I don't think Shelby loses that game. And Galion just ran into a buzzsaw there. Lima Central Catholic's the real deal. And then, Lucas took care of Fort Loramie. I'm just impressed with Lucas, the way that they go about doing their business. And when you interview their kids, Coach Spittler and the culture that they have, I would argue that Lucas might have the best football culture in the area. Every one of those kids just buy into team. I mean, it is incredible. Every time we do an interview and you talk to a player, it's you can tell they genuinely enjoy playing football at Lucas, and they celebrate the successes of their teammates. And then big win for Ontario tonight, right?
Yeah,
How about
I'm
them
happy for him, man.
That's huge. And coming out, I believe it was 21 or 17-0 anyways. That is a monster win for them. And Pleasant kind of taking a little bit of a nosedive here. That did surprise me, because Pleasant maybe it's also because I just know Pleasant has such a great tradition. It's just a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah, you typically don't see the Spartans with
Right.
a 1 in the victory column
Right.
all the way in week 9. All right, now let's move on to the N10, where Carrie Baby did what they do.
That's right.
Well, I don't
We know Carrie Baby took care of business.
Do we know what happened?
And, Colonel Crawford obviously playing well. Carrie is, I really do, as this thing moves on, I like Carrie. Carrie's obviously taking care of business in the N10. When you think about Carrie, for them, their aspirations are much deeper. I think that coming in, their coaching staff would tell you they probably felt pretty good about navigating through the conference, even though they have respect for the teams that they're playing. But they're a regional state Final Four caliber team. I know they have tremendous size on the offense and defensive lines. They're extremely aggressive. Crestvew's going to get, Colonel Crawford's going to get an opportunity in the playoffs to kind of remake themselves, because that's a really solid roster. Seneca's had another big bounce back win.
Sure.
Playing really, really well here. I know a few weeks ago they kind of put one on the ground there that I know that they would have liked to have had, but they're going to be another team that's going to make the playoffs. They should be a playoff team. And, I just like seeing right now we're jockeying, because, when you look at the N10, it's really less about who's going to win the league and more now about playoff seeding.
Yeah, I like seeing the Tigers bouncing back in the fashion they did.
Yes.
The Eagles continue to fly, and then
Yeah,
Carrie
they're
proven
awesome.
they just the cream of the crop.
Yeah, Coach Teglovic's a good coach. Man, that's a really well-coached conference. The N10s are really well. They're Gabe Helbert, that whole crew, that conference is a really, really good conference.
They got some vets that have been around for a minute.
Man, Carrie's good, aren't they? I mean,
They are.
they are nasty.
Yeah,
They're
I look
nasty.
forward to. I hope actually Crestview gets a shot at them in the playoffs.
I do too,
again
man.
this
I think
season.
that'll be must-see TV. I'm just high on Crestview, because I just think that their offense, defense, they're just playing as well as you can play.
I think maybe just G and Storm got you just a little bit
Right.
brainwashed. All that Homer pride over
Actually,
here.
they're a little too nervous, man. They probably need to come more my side.
All right, our last conference of the night, we got some OCC scores for you guys, and you talked about the defensive effort of Mansfield Senior
Yeah,
and what
they're
they
legit.
did. They held them to what?
It was like 34 yards, 34 total yards.
So the Tigers
My man
win.
John Davis, he
best
is
in the biz.
Yeah, he is the best in the business. Lexington getting a big win tonight against Madison, I believe. I think that was a pretty good wax in there. Massillon did beat Worcester. They took care of business there. Mansfield Senior's just it's never a question of defense. Defense always travels. Their question is offensively, are they getting plays from Brock Hill? If Brock Hill's doing what he can do as an athlete and as a passer, they're going to be a tough out. I like them. I think their confidence is continuing to grow. Ashland getting beat by West Holmes tonight. There's no shame in that. As a matter of fact, early on, that game was actually a pretty competitive. If you really look, other than last week, West Holmes really doesn't blow you out, but they ball control you. Their quarterback makes great decisions. They generally don't hurt themselves. And defensively, they're not bend but don't break, because they're actually more aggressive than that, but they're just very sound. Everything stays in front of them, and they do a good job defensively of being gap sound. There's 8 run gaps, Brian. It's hard to run the football against a West Holmes team. And then you throw in the athletes that they have, like the E-Step kid, the Williams-Dixon kid. I would have to say they're the favorite coming out of their region. But I'll tell you what, Mansfield Senior, a couple of stumbles here and there, they could have very easily won at Arlen Field week, 4 or 5 when they played.
Yeah, that was the most competitive game that West Holmes has had
Absolutely.
this season. Other than
and I'll say this, got to give West Holmes credit. They made the plays to win the game, and Mansfield didn't make the plays to win a game. But I think Mansfield, that's one of those games where it's truly a 50-50, and the team that lost, maybe there's a little psychological edge there. I think Mansfield would just be, I think those Tigers would be growling. That, like that would be a fun game to watch if you could get that again.
Yeah, what's going to happen next week when they play Madison and how that's going to get, considering what the Rams did to them last year.
Aaron and I were talking about that in the drive back. It's funny that you bring that up because I said, Coach Bradley is going to have all hands on deck for that one. There's going to be.
They'll be ready for that one.
People don't like to talk about revenge, but it's real. Revenge is real. I mean, people, when you lost a game, or you felt that you should have won, that plays into it.
Yeah, and sorry, our scoreboard is wrong. It should say Lexington was all over Madison.
Yes, correct.
The Minutemen actually closing in on a playoff spot. They're not out of it
yet. Travis was pulling that up. I mean, there were several teams in front of them. If they take care of business this week, they'll probably need a little bit of help, but they're not out. As a matter of fact, I would actually argue when you look at Lexington, probably the most improved team from last year to this year when you look at the totality of the season. And we're talking about them potentially even being a playoff team. And they probably let 2 wins get away.
For sure they did.
Yeah.
No question about that. All right, Erik, great stuff as always.
Stuff.
And can you believe just one more week of the regular season, man? It just flies by. All right, so we put it up to you, the people of North Central Ohio, to decide who the best player of the week was from Week 8, as well as the top play. We're going to show you who the winners are right on the other side of this break.
Headquartered in Valley City, Ohio, MTD Products is a leader in the outdoor power equipment industry. We create products that help consumers build memories. Whether it's inspiring people to care for a public garden or enjoy their backyard with family and friends, community is at the heart of what we do at MTD Products. We're looking for people who want to be a part of our future and who are dedicated to cutting-edge product innovation and outstanding customer service. We'll provide you with the necessary tools for success in your career at MTD and help inspire people to care for and enjoy the outdoors around the world.
Every single week, we leave it up to you, the people, to decide what the best play of the week was that we captured with our cameras, as well as the top individual performance. So after we tallied up all the votes all across all our social media platforms, here is your winner from Week 8 for your Friday Night Phenom. And surprise, surprise, Centerburg fans found us again on the votes. What a big shocker. It's Kaylin Lemaster, who did have a pretty impressive game. We got to give some love. The kid went for a $142, had a couple of tutties. Make that 3, make it 4. That kid was flat out awesome in this game. Or actually, I think I got the wrong notes. This looks like Mr. Gregory, isn't it? Is this Jack Gregory? So Jack Gregory, the quarterback for Centerburg, just lighting it up, going deep, the lefty, doing a lot of things. There's Kalen LeMaster at least helping, doing his part. If I'm going to give him some love, he may as well be in on the moving pictures. All right, so now it's time to look at the top play of the week from Week 8. And it's going to be Ross Kuhn going up to the corner, and Gabe Smedley, I think he got both feet in an impressive feat. NFL-style touchdown right here. The Cougars still undefeated heading into tomorrow's huge game. That combination, a big reason why. Look at that, run it back one more time. So that is your Friday Night Phenom and your top play of the week winners from Week 8. All right, well, it wouldn't be Friday Night Pigskin without a Jardy party, folks. So how about Andy Jardy joining us right now? And you know what? Bottom feeders need some love too, Andy.
They do.
You saw a couple of one-win teams tonight. Break it down for me. Where'd you go? What happened?
We were over in Loudounville, Orville and Loudounville tonight. Both teams coming into this game 1-7. Never quite sure what you're going to expect when you get two teams that have struggled all season. And we had quite an explosive second quarter, as we'll show you in the moving pictures here right now. We'll start things off, though, in the first quarter, as always. And Orville gets on the board first. Tyler Schroer, a 6-yard screen pass to Sawyer Hampshire, who makes the nice moves. We'll be seeing plenty more from him throughout these highlights. Loudonville would respond immediately, though. Matt Sprang, 41 yards on 4th down. They go for it. Zach Frankfurt takes it to the house. It's 7-7 after 1. Second quarter now, this is where things just get bonkers. There's 6:51 to go here. Here's Schroer, a touchdown pass to Hampshire, 13-7. Okay. At 5:11, it's Schroer airing it out. Look at this. 48 yards to Mason Woodruff. It's 20-7. The very next play of the game. Sprang responds. Look at this catch from James Henley, an incredible catch. He goes 65 yards. It's 20-14. With 4:18 to go now in the second quarter. Schroer, the screen pass to the outside, and it's Hampshire who takes it all the way 55 yards. We are trading touchdowns with one another. It's a shootout, 27-14 at the half. Third quarter, Schroer, this time he wants in on the action. He keeps it, and he goes 60 yards untouched. It's 34-14 Orville. And in the fourth quarter, one more for Hampshire. Why not? His 4th touchdown of the night. Orville rolls in this one 41-14 as he just gets to the outside, does the rest, and he's out of frame but not out of mind. 4th touchdown of the night.
Yeah, bringing up the sweet logo there too, man.
I know, right? How about that? Looking pretty spiffy. So yeah, Orville wins tonight 41-14 over Loudonville.
So Hampshire, awesome game. What more can you tell me other than the fact that, wow, huge numbers?
Yeah, I mean, he did it all. You could check off the bingo card if you want. The only thing he was missing, I think, was a kick return or a punt return. But he was all over the field tonight. 4 touchdowns. He had an interception. He had a fumble recovery. So this kid did it all, and he's only a sophomore. That's the thing that's really impressive, is that he's going to be around for a while. There's going to be all sorts of issues he's going to give teams going down the stretch. And
then for Peyton Reagan, just like, what happened tonight?
So he got hurt in the first quarter and didn't come back in the game. Looked to be an ankle injury, but we were really excited to see Peyton Reagan tonight. He's been dominating the last couple of games, but was bothered by an ankle injury, and we didn't really get to see him tonight. And the rushing game for Loudonville just wasn't there tonight. Big factor in their loss.
All right, Andy. Well, we appreciate it. Thanks for having a party with us here
Always.
on the OH Report.
Always. Look forward to it.
All right, so those are some one-win teams. Let's head out over to Lucas now and check out a team that wins all the time in the Cubs, right? Isn't that what we have coming up next? Fort Loramie at Lucas. Let's go ahead and roll those moving pictures. So we'll begin with Grant Baird here. 45-yard touchdown run. This is going to make it 7-0 in favor of the Cubs. He gets into the zone all the time. That's just kind of what he does. Now, here's Andrew Smolin. He's going to roll out to his left. Looking up top, and Corbin Toms. You don't see a ton of passing touchdowns for the Cubs. That was a 40-yarder right there, but the response is coming right here from Fort Loramie, one of the best small schools in the state. It's Caleb Marr to Mesher. 5-yard TD pass made it 14-8. Now here's Smolin to a gentleman who just returned tonight, and boy, do they need this guy to play big time for him. How about the catch from Andrew Finello? 27-yarder right there. It's 21-8. Toms, he's not done. 70 more yards for him as he's going to blitz his way into the zone for a big touchdown in the third, and the Cubs would roll 31-8. And Travis joining me now. What is the playoff picture looking like for Lucas with the win tonight? Are they almost guaranteed to have 2 home games in their D7 Region 25? What do you know?
It's almost a lock for them, but they got a big one at Mogador next week. They control their own destiny for 2 home games. They get that big win against Mogador next week. They will lock up 2 home games. Now, a little bit of a tease for what we're going to talk about playoffs later in the show, but the St. Paul Crestview game, it isn't just big for the Firelands Conference, but it's big for a few teams, and we'll talk about that later. But the Lucas Cubs right now, they control their own destiny for at least 2 home games, and you might still be able to get that number 1 seed depending on what St. Paul does.
All right, appreciate it, Trav. Now let's throw it over to the MOAC corner where our best tandem that we have standing by.
Happy days over here.
Let's
in the
go.
MOAC corner, I think, at least for me. So it couldn't be the MOAC corner without the Shelby Whippets, of course. So we'll just jump right into those moving pictures from tonight. It was a rainy one at some points, but who else starting us off besides Marshall Shepard, taking it in from 2 yards out, starting out the scoring for the Whippets. Then, once again, Marshall Shepard drops back, finds Connor Henkel over the middle, 24 yards, and another Shelby score. Marshall one more time over the middle, finding Garrett Baker for a 7-yard touchdown score. Now River Valley in the red zone. Caden Chindone rolls out to the right, finds Carson Lang for 18 yards to get River Valley on the board. Marshall now throws a laser beam to Andre Hill to make the score 27-7 in favor of the Whippets. Then the rain would start coming down, and I unfortunately would miss the second quarter, but fast forward to the third. Shepard with a loft pass to Andre Hill for yet another Whippet score. And oh my goodness, who would have thought Marshall Shepard this time on the screen pass to Blaine Bowman, and he could go all the way. Another Whippets touchdown, and finally River Valley has a chance to score at the end of the game, and they would on this beautiful pitch and catch into the end zone. That would bring us to our final score of 47-20 in favor of the Shelby Whippets.
Storm, we've seen this a lot all year long, really. Marshall Shepard, Blaine Bowman, and those wide receivers getting it done. Another big MOAC win, but Marshall struggled the past few weeks. Is he back?
Oh, yeah. Marshall Shepard is back. I think I actually had a chance to talk to him after the game. He said, even this was a bounce-back week. They said at practice, a lot of things were super serious. It was not a time to mess around if you were a Shelby Whippet this week. And a guy of note, Isaiah Ramsey, a guy that I feel like we don't really talk about all that much. We talk a lot about Blaine Bowman. We talk a lot about Andre Hill. Isaiah Ramsey had a really nice game for himself tonight as well.
Clear Fork, obviously, the big loss to Marion Harding. So now Shelby, all they got to do is win out. They got to play Clear Fork, obviously, next week for the MOAC crown. If they win that, they get the whole conference to themselves. Do you believe in them to do so?
I do believe in the Shelby Whippets. I am a believer once again. The Shelby Whippets, man, it's just kind of hard to bet against them once they're clicking. I know versus West Holmes, that was just kind of, a fluke game, I believe. So, I really do believe in those Shelby Whippets.
Well, I unfortunately was not at Galion tonight. I was down in East Knox. I saw a great game, but I'm going to roll those Galion highlights and see how the Tigers did against a traveling Lima Central Catholic school that was very dominant all night long. And they came into tonight's game ranked first in Division 7 and Region 26, and they did exactly what they wanted to do. It looks like we might not have those highlights. We do have those highlights. Let's roll them then. Let's see what happened over at High C Park. Where first stuff is going to start off in the first quarter. Multiple scores here. That's going to be Lucas. Grant Barrett is playing for Galion, I guess so, tonight. I don't know. Touchdown for the Cubs, but those are not the Galion highlights, so let's skip over that one, Storm. But we can talk about the Galion game instead. Galion did fall to Lima Central Catholic Storm 35-7, and it was a big win for them. They're seeded first in Division 7, Region 26, and what worries me about Galion, they fell to some schools that they could have beat. Obviously tonight they had a big tough task against them. Next week they travel to Pleasant, a team that they can beat. Pleasant obviously not the school that they once was this year, as Brian and Will mentioned earlier. But I think they can go on the road and get that big win. The question is, though, coming in the playoffs, they're seeded, I believe, 13th right now. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to get it done if they can play some of those tougher schools up in their region. So Galion, they got a big one next week. I think if they can win that one, they can stay in the playoff hunt and get back into contention. But here are those highlights. We finally got them, baby.
Galion,
here we go.
Let's go, Tigers.
This one is going to be a Carry-On Bailey touchdown all the way to the back of the zone. 7-0 in favor of the Thunderbirds, and then Carson Parker is going to throw a dime to Travis Hoyle. We're going to hear from this guy all night long. That's going to be 14-0. This is going to be 14-7. Cooper Kent's going to hit Hanif Donaldson over the middle, breaks the tackle, can't bring him down. He's going to get into the back of the end zone. 14-7, as I mentioned, Galion making a push. But on the ensuing kickoff storm, a special teams play, a big one right here from Travis Hoyle Jr., all the way into the back of the end zone. 21-7, cuts it all the way across the field, breaks a few tackles, and that speed is not catchable as Galion is nowhere in the frame. What a play right there from Travis Hoyle Jr., and big night for him too. He had 2 TDs. All those in the first quarter. Second quarter is going to be a Galion interception. Cooper Kent here, not sure what he was looking for, but it's going to be picked off by Billy Burke for the Thunderbirds. And then on the next ensuing possession, they're going to take it right down the throat of Galion. Carson Parker, the QB, is going to take it in for 6. That's going to make it 28-7. No scores in the third quarter. Moving on to the fourth, Lima Central is going to finally put this one away with a touchdown from Gabe Sierra into the back of the end zone. 35-7 in favor of Lima Central Catholic as they beat Galion at High C Park.
And I know you kind of already answered this one, Garrett, but your 1 week hiatus, but from the Tigers. But what's next for Galion?
Well, it's getting some of those guys that are the JV players some experience. They play they play Pleasant, who doesn't have the great year that they usually have. They're seated at 13th right now. I'm sure they're going to drop a few spots, maybe not that much. I believe Huron, who was seated 14th, also fell tonight. So they may stay 13, 14, might be playing a tough Port Clinton school. Not sure about that so far, but they play Pleasant next week. I expect them to pick up a big win and maybe get some points heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, and then just talk to me a little bit about Lima Central Catholic. They had another dominant performance tonight. How do you think they shape up in the postseason?
Yeah, they sit first in their division, D7 Region 26, and I expect them to do big things, man. They've really dominated that area for a while now, and I don't expect them to change. They beat the brakes off Galion tonight, and from the highlights, it doesn't look like it was anywhere close. Galion had that late push in the second quarter when Hanif Donaldson had the touchdown, but Lima Central really controlled everything over there at High C.
And I think that's going to do it for Galion. We're going to move on to Clear Fork versus Marion Harding, and I think you've heard enough of us yapping. Let's just get right into the highlights. Garrett, I know you just did that whole spiel, but I'll let you start us off on this.
Let's get things going, Storm. Marion Harding, a good team. Heading on the road to the Valley is Brady Wink, is going to hit Wesley Stokes for the 31-yard touchdown pass. That's going to make it 6-0 in favor of the Prexies.
And then next up, Victor Skoog. You all know him. You all love him. He's going to hit Jackson on a 2-yard pass. That's going to bring the score to 10-6 now with some momentum for Clear Fork.
Moving on to the third quarter, Schlosser's going to take this one right up the gut. 18-yard touchdown run to put Clear Fork back out in front, 10-14 in favor of the Colts.
Next up, a little bit of a zany wild play, safety right here, but unfortunately it would be called off. I'm not sure why. We don't really have an official ruling on it, but no safety on that play. Could have been a huge tide turner.
In the fourth quarter, Victor Skoog is going to hit Jay Jackson right over the top. Moss is the defender. Get off me. 27-yard touchdown pass, 21-10 in favor of the Colts.
Next up, Wink to Stokes, 55. Oh, I don't think that's this play.
No, that is this play, Storm. That is exactly this play. That's going to be a 6-yard touchdown pass. Harding's going to get it done on the road. A big-time win, big-time comeback victory over Clear Fork. Clear Fork obviously still can control their own destiny if they can beat Shelby and get a piece of that pie.
Yeah, Marion Harding, I think they're criminally underrated, Garrett. They're sitting 9th right now in the playoff running, and they're 6-3 overall. I think we've said this a couple of times already, maybe on the Monday podcast, but Marion Harding, criminally underrated.
Yeah, I believe in their playoff rankings, they're seated 9th right now. And I think after a big win against a Clear Fork school, I believe that is in the top 8 in their division. They're going to move up a few slots, maybe up to 6, and they might 10, man. 6-3, I believe, overall. They've lost. The bad loss on their resume was against Pleasant. Obviously, that is a rival game, so you can kind of give them a little bit of slack there, but still, obviously, a bad loss. But other than that loss, they've really lost to Shelby, and they lost to another good school. So Marion Harding is definitely a criminally underrated team.
And Garrett, despite the loss tonight, Clear Fork still in the conference race. They can't win it outright, but hey, they can still get a piece of that pie.
Yeah, and I think they might have overlooked Marion Harding a lot tonight, and I believe a lot of schools have. And Clear Fork, I think they're going to regroup themselves, and they're going to bring their best effort into Shelby. I think if Dave Carroll got the option at the beginning of the year, you have one opportunity to go in WW Scouts Field and play for a piece of the MOAC pie. I think that is exactly what he would want.
That'll all be coming to you next Friday. Going to be a big week of football, but that'll do it over here for the MOAC Corner. Going to send it over back to you, Brian.
Yeah, lots of talks about pie. Like, I'm starting to get my hunger game up for sure. No doubt about that. And man, I'm a little surprised actually that Marion Harding, 6 wins at this point in the season. I cannot believe that they lost to Pleasant earlier in the year. They definitely should be in line for a home playoff game. Well, a team that definitely got themselves in that position tonight, the East Knox Bulldogs, playing at home against a team that entered the game undefeated in the KMAC. Josh Pollock, you saw it go down. The Dogs with a crazy come from behind win, man. Tell us about it.
I know they came through. I was at Chet Looney Stadium. A little rainy afternoon, and I'll show you how East Knox was able to get it done in these highlights. We're kicking off things after a 68-yard running touchdown by Dane Nauman. You're going to see a nice little pass play here. That is from Cooper Merkling, a 15-yard pass to Jay Melchiori, making it 13-0. They had missed an extra point. It got blocked. East Knox is going to be able to respond. Peyton Lester hitting. That is Carson Steinmetz, just a dime of a pass right there. That's going to make it 13-7. And Dane Nauman doing what he does from 20 yards out. I mean, you give the guy the ball, and it just seems like he finds his way into the end zone every time. A nice 20-yard touchdown run for him, making it 20-7. But East Knox not going to go away quietly. This is Shane Knepp from 6 yards out, going to make it to 20-14. And this was after a Dane Nauman fumble, which was kind of the key to the game. And then this with just 14 seconds left to go in the game, to take the lead, 27-20. That is Knepp again from 1 yard out, making the final score 27-20. Bulldogs prevailing over Highland, who was previously undefeated.
Tell me more about Shane Knepp and why they were utilizing him at running back tonight. Obviously, they've been splitting him out. He's been a wide receiver the last several seasons. What did the Bulldogs find in Knepp putting him in the backfield?
Yeah, I think his speed was just really helpful tonight. He was also a key defender for them as well. He actually helped deliver a huge hit on Nauman that actually kind of knocked him out for a little bit of the game, and he just kind of contributed everywhere. He was a great receiver. He was rushing the ball. On defense, he was able to contribute as well. So it didn't surprise me that they wanted to utilize that at the end of the game as well.
And then Dane Nauman, I mean, he's leading rusher and, one of the top in the entire state, the best that we have in this area. What happened in the second half? He had some butterfingers, huh?
Yeah, I don't know if it was me and Effie were kind of talking about maybe it might have been some of the rain, something like that, but it was definitely an off game. I mean, the rushing yards were still there. It seemed like he was still dominant, but he had 3 fumbles, I believe, at the end of the game. Wow. 2 of them were in their own territory deep, which East Knox was able to capitalize on. And it was really hurtful turnovers on his end.
So just give me one big takeaway for both teams. Obviously, it was a huge win for the Bulldogs, vaults them in the playoff position, and then also keeps them tied for atop the KMAC standings. And then for Highland, a little bit different story. They could have been alone atop of the KMAC standings. What do you think both of these teams take away from tonight's outcome?
Yeah, I'll start with Highland just because coming away from a loss like this, I think if you were there, if you were watching the game, it's still, to me, Highland is the better team. Without those takeaways, which I know you can't just erase those, but Nauman's not going to have 3 fumbles every single game. I mean, That's just not going to happen. I think you take one of those away and they win this game. And then if you're East Knox, I just think you can go on the no-quit attitude that your team had. I mean, you were down. You weren't really moving the ball offensively super well. And then to come away with a gritty win like this against a really good Highland team, I think it's something they can hold their head high on.
All right. Appreciate it, Josh. Good
Awesome.
stuff. That wasn't the only big game in the KMAC tonight. No. Over at the Castle, the undefeated Knights were trying to stay that way against Centerburg. Let's roll those moving pictures and show you how it all went down over in North Bloomfield Township. And the Knights, hey, they're looking for their first 10-0 regular season in program history, defending against the former kings of the conference. And here's a little pass out to Kalen Lemaster. He's going to put the Trojans up 7-zip in the opening quarter. The Knights would try to answer on the ensuing drive in the second, but Jesse Rings, he gonna make his first of 2 interceptions on the night. That one probably the prettiest. Got both feet in bounds too, as he picks off Cortez there. And then the Berg would turn that INT into a Tyler Johnson burst. How about a 6-pack here? Look at him swerving through traffic. This would make it 14-0 early in the second, but then Cortez and company would start to bring them back. Here's a short TD run for him that is going to trim it down to a 1-score game this late in the second quarter. Let's fast forward now, take you later in the third where Cortez tries the left side this time. That lane's open too. But the Knights would miss the PAT on the first touchdown and the 2-point conversion. This is the last chance here, 4th down. They need 7 yards. Cortez tries to take off. It's not going to be there for him. 14-12, Centerburg with a big, if you want to call it, upset win because the Knights were 8-0 entering the day, and the defending KMAC champs making things a whole lot more interesting as we move forward to Week 10 in this conference. So who better to join me now than KMAC? Trav, what's everything that we need to know about not only the KMAC positioning now, where 3 teams all tied at the top, Highland, East Knox, and Northmor, as well as the playoff standings?
Well, first off, for the KMAC championship race, East Knox, all they have to do is win the Devil Dog game. It's not that easy because Danville come off a big win tonight as well, but East Knox wins the Devil Dog game. They are co-KMAC champs. They don't need any help. Then you have the winner of Northmor and Highland. The winner of that gets the co-championship. There will not be a sole champion this year in the KMAC. Now for playoffs, Northmor coming in tonight in Division 6 Region 23, they were 5th. 6 teams right below them won. So that's going to hurt. However, their first level and second level points, they had so many, I don't see them dropping more than 3 or 4 spots. The last team in that group was Centerburg that won, so they're going to get a lot of bonus points for beating an undefeated squad that was ahead of them. So they could move up maybe with the chance of hosting 1 playoff game. They're not going to host 2. Northmor, they're going to need a win and help to get their 2 home playoff games, but a win will get them 1. One other team, after Centerburg, 5 teams that lost, and then there's Fredericktown at 17. Fredericktown's going to jump into the top 16, and it's going to come down to Centerburg versus Fredericktown, playing for more than just a couple of things. They're going to play for a playoff spot for Fredericktown, and for Centerburg, they're going to play for at least 1 home game.
And how about the brand new Freddie Berg trophy that are going to be rolling out? I'm told that we can actually unleash that secret now, so we're going to have a little hype video for that next week, and a lot on the line for that game. And I'm told we got one more highlight that just rolled in fresh and hot for you guys. How about Buckeye Central on the road at Mohawk? Let's check it out. Show you how this one all went down. Hasn't been a great season for the Bucks, and they would fall behind early. Zayden Fry, love those camo jerseys too. Getting into the zone in the first quarter, that made it 7-zip. Now how about a 38-yard bomb from Hannum to Heyman with 2:08 left in the first. It's 13-0 in favor of the Warriors, and Heyman had so much fun chucking it up. He's going to do it this time to Teese. It's 21-6. This is already in the fourth quarter, and then to cap it off, Colin Barth going to truck his way in. 27-6, Mohawk taking care of business on their home field. That's right, they sure did. Big win over the Bucks. And how about Mohawk closing out the season with a couple of wins here and could get one more next week? Any idea where they're looking in the playoff situation?
They're 15th right now. The win helps them out. I think another win next week. They take on Winford. So, yeah, if they can beat Winford, I think that's going to be enough to get Mohawk in. They're not going to host a playoff game. They're going to go on the road to start. But Mohawk still has a chance to get into the playoffs. A lot of area teams, just because it's dropped up to 16, there's a lot of teams that we didn't think 2 weeks ago would have a chance. So you're saying there's a chance.
More like 1 in 100?
Something like that.
It's getting late. All right, guys. We're going to take one more time out. We'll come back, and we will show you guys what's on the docket for next week. Week 10 already is upon us. Stay tuned.
Headquartered in Valley City, Ohio, MTD Products is a leader in the outdoor power equipment industry. We create products that help consumers build memories. Whether it's inspiring people to care for a public garden or enjoy their backyard with family and friends, community is at the heart of what we do at MTD Products. We are looking for people who want to be a part of our future and who are dedicated to cutting-edge product innovation and outstanding customer service. We'll provide you with the necessary tools for success in your career at MTD and help inspire people to care for and enjoy the outdoors around the world.
Well, thanks for hanging with us late night here on the Friday Night Pigskin. A lot to get to on a crazy, wacky Week 9, but it's not over just yet. Oh no, folks, the big one is tomorrow. That's right. Here's the game that you can watch live and free right here on the OH Report. Undefeated versus undefeated for the Fireland Conference Championship. The Cougars and the Flyers. We got G-Man, Storm, Travis all hanging out with me. Can we get some quick, bold predictions, folks? What are we thinking? Travis, you go first.
A lot of playoff implications. Lucas is going to be rooting for Crestview. So am I. Crestview is going to get their first win since 2011. I talked to Mason Minnick earlier this week, and he's pumped about it. He says this team looks a lot like the team that knocked them off last time, and that team went undefeated in the regular season, won a Firelands Conference Championship. So I got the Cougars.
Let's hear it, boys.
A little bit of bias here, but I also have the Cougars winning this one. I think it's going to be a really tight game. This is going to be the game of the year. I just think it's going to be such a fun game, such an awesome atmosphere with that new Crestview turf. But I got to go with Crestview. Of course, I got to go with Crestview. Super excited, though.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a close game. I think it's going to come down to whichever offense has the ball last. I think it's going to be a defensive battle, and it's so hard to pick because I think Crestview's the better team athletically and talented, but, man, that mental game is definitely going to play a little bit of a factor. So I think it's going to be a close game. I don't know if I can pick yet.
Yeah, the other team has St. Paul across their chest for whatever reason. That means something when they step on the field with the Cougars, so definitely tune in for that one. We're going to have a bunch of cameras out there, some awesome coverage for you. It's going to all go down live and free at Scott Bailey Memorial. All right, moving on to Week 10 now, and these are all potential games that we're thinking about doing, but we're probably going to do. How about Worcester and Ashland? The last couple of times these teams have met, it's been super fun games. Last year was one of the craziest endings to any football game that I've ever seen in my entire life, so definitely would like to see this one. And for both of these teams, I don't know, Worcester might be able to play themselves back into the playoff picture. I don't know exactly where Ashland is sitting right now, but each of them probably can go on the road if they get a win.
Yeah, Ashland, they were 16th tonight. They lost, but a bunch of teams ahead of them and behind them lost as well. Lexington, they're rooting for Worcester right now because if Lexington wins, gets some help, they might still sneak into the playoffs. Ashland, they got to win next week to get in. That's all they need to worry about right now. Win and you're in.
All right, some teams that we know are going to get into the postseason, but who's going to win the KMAC championship? Highland at Northmor at the Castle. I believe me and Travis calling this one together. At least we're thinking about doing that.
Oh,
should be a good time.
I got to be back there. I was there. They won. I'm not there, and they lose. I mean, they're going to kill me for not being there. But Northmor, good chance of getting. They're going to get one playoff home game if they win. If they lose, they're going to be on the road. Also, if they get help, they have a chance of getting two. Highland, this is their last game in the KMAC. They want to go out as KMAC champions before going to the MOAC. Can Northmor spoil the party? We will find out in 1 week's time.
Then we got the cross-city rivalry going down. Madison and Mansfield Senior. I think those hungry Tigers might just take a little bit of frustration for what happened last year when the Rams upset them when the playoffs were over. That weird situation with the whole COVID thing. But what are you guys expecting from this?
Well, for the Madison Rams, I like rooting for the underdog, so I'm going to go with Madison.
Love it.
I saw them at the beginning of the year, but they did get the doors blown off just a little bit by Shelby. But that was week 1.
Yeah.
We're in week 10. All the kinks are worked out. Let's get a big dub. Come on, Madison.
They had Mansfield's number last year, Storm, but I don't think they're going to have it this year. I'm picking Mansfield to win this one.
Yeah, it's one of those you write on a napkin and then you put your drink on top of it. You lost that number, unfortunately, probably Rams. That's going to be another game that we'll have. Another big one in the KMAC, Centerburg and Fredericktown. Got that brand new fancy trophy, the Freddyburg. And I was talking to some of the Centerburg players. I mean, this is a big rivalry, Travis. They like this one down in KMAC country. And
you know what? Fredericktown getting Tegan Rule back, completely healthy. Their running game, they can still make it into the playoffs. So, not only are they playing for a trophy for rivalry, but Fredericktown playing to get in, Centerburg playing to get that home game. So a lot on the line in the KMAC, including this one.
And how about the next one? One of the better rivalries that I've been a part of, East Knox and Danville, the Devil Dog game. It just don't get much better than this. G-Man, I think we called this one together last year. It was a 1-point differential, and even with only 20% capacity in the stands, I mean, there's just a little something extra to this rivalry.
Yeah, I believe we were sitting in the visitor bleachers, and there was no room, and that was with limited capacity. So I think this one is going to be, the records are out the window. It doesn't matter how good you are. It's just, you want to show some pride, and you want to go out there and win that rivalry game.
All right, now let's check out the highlight portion of our coverage for next week. And back on the Galion train, G-Man, what do you think about them taking on Marion Pleasant?
Well, obviously, Marion Pleasant 1-7 so far this year. Galion having a disappointing season themselves. Galion wants any chance to be able to play in the postseason. I think they need to win this one. They're seated at 13th right now. Get a win, and I think that they're going to be in their postseason.
Yeah, Trav confirms that they need a win to get in. Winford is going to be on the road at Mohawk, and I really like this game in the N10. The Royals have not played up to their potential, and I don't think that the Warriors have either. So I think that this is the perfect Week 10 matchup for both of these schools to see which one has played themselves into being a good football team at the end of the year. Will it be the Warriors or the Royals? We will find out. And then the huge one in the MOAC, either one of these teams is going to be champion or both of them is going to be champion, Storm. So there's a lot at stake.
Yeah, I just keep getting great game after great game. I'm super excited for this one at WW Skiles Field. It's going to be so awesome to watch. And, hey, an MOAC champ is going to be crowned, whether it's one or whether it's two. And I'm just happy I'm going to get to be there.
Winner gets a home game, too, out of that.
So, yeah, there's a lot of nuggets up for grabs at that game. And I know everyone in here loves nuggets. If you can get your hands on some, you'll take them. All right, guys. It's been a long, wacky Friday. I appreciate everyone hanging out, including all of you guys out there at home or wherever you're watching. So appreciate you tuning in, and we'll be right back here next Friday night, Week 10 edition. Tons of action on the way. For now, I'm going to go. It's my anniversary. Love you.